Now, back when our cars were very first put onto the road, they were a new generation of cars and they had a new generation of plugs and sockets. Although over the years, way back in time, cars have always had electrical connectors, they were a much more crude type of connector, very easy to replace with very crude tools. The modern cars are getting more and more sophisticated with their connectors, more and more pins in one connector, smaller and smaller pins, which makes them harder to put together professionally. If you're going to be replacing one of the plugs on your wiring loom, I would strongly, very strongly recommend getting the replacement plug before you start any work on the car. Now, these plugs are probably still available from Mitsubishi, almost certainly still available from Mitsubishi, but if they're not, it doesn't really matter, because there are lots and lots of duplicate ones on the market now that are almost identical to the original plug, and I'll tell you why I say almost in a minute. So please go out and get the replacement plug before you start the job. You can either try Mitsubishi, or if you have a really good supplier of parts for these cars, chances are they're going to have all these plugs on the shelf. If they don't, if you're really stuck and you can't find anywhere else, get in contact with me. I have a huge stock of all of the plugs on the shelf. Now, the reason I say to buy the plug first is this is going to give you really good clues on how to take the plug apart. You don't want to just go cutting the wiring loom for nothing, because you're going to end up cutting more of the cable away than you need to cut. So get your plug first, look at how it's put together. This will show you how to take apart the original plug, and from there we can work at replacing it. So if you look at a small selection of the plugs that are fitted to our cars, you'll see they work on a generally the same theme. You normally have the main body of the plug, you have the pins that go into the plug, and you have the pin retainer for the plug. And that goes the same for most of the plugs, although I've not put all of the pieces out for you to see. You'll also notice that just about every single pin in the plug is put onto the wire using a similar system. So if we're close enough there, we have the main electrical connection and we have the wire and sleeving retainer connection. That goes the same for just about all of the plugs, and I'll show you in a minute how to use the right tool to put those on. You also have on some plugs the water moisture sleeve to stop water going into the cable and corroding it. So they're very simple, but some of them are harder to work out than others. Now, what we're going to be demonstrating on here is a piece of loom from the injector plugs. This one has got multiple broken plugs on it. With old age, the plastic has become brittle, and when taking them apart, the plastic's broken up. So we're going to be replacing one of these plugs. Quite easy to do. You don't actually need to take the loom off the car at all. I've purely taken this off for demonstration purposes to make the job easier to show on camera. Now, looking at the tools, there's a few tools you're going to need. Most of you go down to the local hardware store or auto parts store and buy one of these cable plug crimping tools. For God's sake, don't waste your money. They're junk, absolute junk. If you want the right tool to put these together so they look like they did when they left the factory, you can now buy the correct tool relatively cheaply. Back in the old days, this was a reserve of the super rich, the garages and the main dealers. Now there's so many people buying all this stuff that they've managed to bring the price down to a fraction of what it was, and this tool will give you absolute factory finish connections. You're also going to need, if you want to keep it really professional, a wire stripper. It just takes the end sleeving off without damaging the copper core at all. If you go for the knife option, It does work, but you've got to be really careful, because if you touch the copper wire in any way with the blade of the knife, the chances are it's going to weaken or break one of the metal fibers that run through the center of the cable, and that in turn is going to create resistance issues. The cable will get hotter around the plug, may even catch fire. So it's always better to buy the right tool. And again, you can buy these relatively cheaply now. Once you buy one tool, if you buy the correct one, these will each cover just about every single plug on the car. So you only need to buy one crimping tool and one stripping tool to cover every single plug you're likely to ever replace on your car. A worthwhile investment. Also, a pair of wire cutters. Again, another very cheap tool, different sizes. Doesn't hurt to have one for the bigger cables, one for the smaller cables. We're only working on a small cable today, so I've just got a small pair of cutters. Thin bladed screwdriver, I'll show you what that's for in a minute. Little pick tools, small selection, may well help you. And finally, these things here. These are almost a must now. You can get them in a whole range of different sizes to fit all different types of plugs. And all this is for is to slide down the end of the plug to release the retaining clip. And I'll demonstrate that in a minute as well. So that's pretty much everything for the tools. I'm just going to clear all this away, and then we'll look at how to dismantle this plug and replace it nice and easily. Now, when it comes to replacing the plug, you don't always have to replace the whole plug. You need to determine what's actually wrong with a plug in the first place and make the easiest possible option for you. Not unless you want to replace the whole plug anyway, but it's not always necessary. Now, what I mean by that is if you are buying a plug that is from exactly the same manufacturer, all of the parts will fit together the same as the original plug. If the plastic is broken, but the terminals themselves are uncorroded, clean and perfectly usable, you can replace just the plastic housing, and that will avoid cutting any wires and having to crimp on new pins. This is my preferred choice unless the pins themselves are corroded. Now, once you've got your replacement plug, it will give you clues as to how to put it together, like I already said. And this is important because you'll see that if I put a new plug up against the original plug, you'll see that this part here is in a different place. That's because this is the retaining section that holds the wires in place, as well as the two pins that are held in place. So we need to first of all release that brown piece. Now, to do that, assuming this one's pretty much broken off anyway, let's pick another one to use. Yeah, here we go. So we can see from looking at the new plug, if I pull this off, hopefully. Oh, of course, live video.
Hold on. You got a secondary clip just there.
I have, well spotted.
It's not designed to come off all the way.
Well, it does come off. I know that because I've had these apart before. There we go. So, once we get this off, hopefully without breaking it. Okay, now we can see there's a total of 4 retaining clips. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's how we're going to normally, although this one's already broken, normally we will just do that. Work our way around, bit at a time, and release that from there. Now we can see that this is broken, so is the black piece. So we're going to have to replace both of those parts. Now, I'm not using a genuine part, so the manufacturer of the replacement one may have made certain changes. Now, the next thing we've got to do is get these 2 wires out of this sleeve. Now, these can be simple. Sometimes they'll just pull out and they were only held in by this. Sometimes you're going to need to use one of these tools to undo it. Now the way it's held in, and again this is where it will help you, I'm pretty sure the camera won't be able to see down there. Are you able to see down there at all?
No, it's just dark.
When you look down there, you will see that there's a little pin sticking up that will press down. When this is slid into the main body, the pin that is sticking up will drop into that hole and lock it in place so you can't pull it out. And what you have to do is work out where that pin is and which way round the pin needs to be pressed. Then you're going to select the appropriate tool that fits down the hole. And I've got 2 sets of these and I've not got that other set, so I'm hoping one of these will fit.
Probably the one you're holding.
Yeah, that one I'm holding will probably fit. So you slide it down the hole and try to release the pins. Sometimes they'll come out easily, sometimes you've really got to work at them. Oh, that one come out very easily, that's unusual.
So if you just show the
Now, we'll do that one.
Where?
We're going into the top slot there. Press it down. I'm using my hand here to press it into the plug. That's it. Just like that. Now they don't always come out that easy. Sometimes you've really got to work at them. So we'll put that to one side. We know that this is also broken. You know what I didn't do? I didn't make a note of which way round those wires were. Did you? I might have to go and
video.
I might have to go. Oh, I see.
Video will also help you because
the thicker wire is to that side. So now we can take off this brown one as well. That's broken. It went this way up. So we'll put those 2 through there. And this one goes this way up. Now, hopefully, this is an aftermarket one, but I'm hoping that this will still fit. Now, the reason I say that is sometimes with the aftermarket ones, there might be a fraction of a millimeter difference in width or length. It is so small the eye can't see it, but it will often stop bits going back together as they should. And this one's going in, perfect. Now I'm not going to push this all the way in, so now what we could do is clip that in, clip that back on, and the job's done as fast as that. Looks like brand new and pretty much no work involved. But I'm not going to clip it in this time because I want to demonstrate how to replace the pins. So if we pull those back out. Now, time for me to put my glasses on. Not that I'm going blind. So, you can see here, we have 2 parts to the plug. This part here crimps on the copper part, and this part here crimps on the rubber sleeve, the waterproof sleeving, and the main cable sleeve. Now, we don't need to cut the cable up here. We want to cut the absolute minimum off, and that minimum will be this bit here, about 3 to 4 millimeters. To expose that, we can lift that off there, that one off there. We can pull the rubber sleeve out the way. We can reuse that if you want, or you can put on the new ones. And from here we can simply snip that cable as close as possible, like so. And we do the same to the other one. Okay, now I think I'm going to reuse these little rubber waterproof sleeves because they actually seem better than the aftermarket ones. They just seem a bit more substantial, so I'm going to stick with those, and I'll save those other 2 for an emergency. Now we need to bare a piece of the copper off the end, just about 3 millimeters. And for that we have this tool. Now we are working in fairly close quarters now, So I'm going to have to pull these off temporarily. So the yellow one was on the red cable. Set up your wire stripper for the distance that you need. Don't go any more than you absolutely need to go. Put your cable in. I might need just a little bit more. About that much. Cable in, and it strips a bit back for you without damaging the cable. Same on this one. I think I could have done with a little bit more there. There we go. Now we can put these waterproof sleeves back on. Oh, by the way, if ever these are difficult to put back on, and there will be times when they are, you can just slip a bit of WD-40 or grease on there, and that'll slide on nicely. In fact, I sort of recommend it. It will make the job a lot easier.
Might want replacing this split net.
Yeah, but this is just a waste piece of loom that I'm using for the demonstration, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Okay. Now we look at the new pins. Now they go that way up. You can see they are very slightly different. Very, very slightly different. Now, when it comes to the tool to put this back on, if you open it up, there's a couple of things you're going to notice. First of all, for each cable size, there is a wide section and a narrow section. The narrow section is where the copper wire goes. The wide section is where the sleeve goes. You need to pick the one that fits best for the connector you're going to be fitting, and I'm around the wrong way. So you're going to be looking for one where it drops in nice and snug. That one's too tight, that one's too loose. So it seems to be that one fits about the best. Now what we're going to do is turn it over. I'm just going to pinch that together slightly. And then I'm going to put this into here this way round. And I'm just going to crimp it down slightly just to hold it in place. I want to try and keep it as square as possible. And you see that clicked. It's held it in place. And this will allow us now to bring this down to here. We're going to slide this into the hole, and we've got to go so the copper part, I'm sorry, this is a really finicky job. It's very difficult to demonstrate in such close quarters. We're going to put this in, if there's enough space. I might have to go for that bigger one after all. And now I've got a problem, because you can't open these once it's done. Now there's a problem I wasn't prepared for. What? Ah, yes you can. It's a little clip at the back there. Press that up and it releases it. Thank goodness for that. I thought I was going to be in trouble there. We'll do it this way around. So we are going to have to open that back up. So let's go for the bigger one. I'm over the wrong way. Drop that into there. I'm afraid there's no easy way to demonstrate this because it is such a tiny little workspace. Just going to see if I can close that a little bit, just to make it a bit easier.
Given you're not left-handed, would it be easier for me to crimp that way?
I'm wondering that myself. Okay, so hopefully that's all square now. You can see on the other side, check the copper wires come through, crimp down all the way and then open it. And you can see that that has crimped the same as the original terminal. This was originally wrapped around. It holds it all in place. Now we'll do the same for the other one. I'm just going to trim back that copper a little bit more though. Just gives us a little bit more to play with. Okay, it's just trying to turn on me a little bit there.
Can we hold that?
You know, I can do it with my right hand if I just turn it around. That's the answer, isn't it? You know, when you do this yourself, it doesn't seem so bad, but when you're trying to do it on video, that's a different thing entirely. Yeah, we're back to that problem. So that sleeve is going to have to go in first.
I notice those sleeves, the original ones, look slightly bigger than the, the replacement ones.
Yeah, which is making the job a bit harder. Come on, in you go. Right, we're going to have to crimp it slightly onto the rubber sleeve just to hold it in place. Okay, down you go. That didn't go to plan. I messed that up. Gonna have to go for another plug. Why is it always on video it goes wrong? Do these day in, day out, no problem. As soon as it comes to a video, okay, that's looking a bit better. Got it. It ruined the piece of rubber though. I think
The rubber was already deteriorated.
it was, yeah. Could do with a new one. You get the idea. Crimps them on beautifully, apart from the rubber. Looks like the original plug. We'll get the sleeve back over there. So I've got to make sure I've got these around the right way. So that goes around that way. I'll drop these back into there. I'm wishing now that I did put on new waterproofing boots, because these have been destroyed, but you get the idea. It's not helped because I've got such a short piece of cable here to work with.
Yeah, these ones are considerably shorter, aren't they?
I believe this is probably the shortest of all of them on the car.
So it's a rare one.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely should have replaced that, because now it's so squished up it's not going in properly. The yellow one was fine because that didn't split, but grey one has split. You can see from, yeah, you can see from this end they've gone in. Now we can pop that back on there and clip it all the way in till it locks. And as you can see, it now looks brand new, as it did from the factory, ready to go. No, with the metal clip as well. No chock block connectors, no electrical tape, nothing that makes it look bad. You can put that back on your car, and of course anyone who's buying your car in the future is not going to look at it and say, oh my lord, what has he done to that cable, to that wiring loom, to those plugs? They look terrible, I don't want the car. You're going to look like it just came out the factory with nice new plugs and connectors, and you're all ready to go. So with that done, I think that's done. I hope that's done. You've now got an idea. We've covered the tools that you need, the proper tools. You now know that all of the plugs are available. If you need to replace any, you can do them properly, professionally, and feel good about the job after. So thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you like this channel, you can click on the thumbs up to let us know you've enjoyed the video. You can click on the bell to receive updates on any future videos. There is also a forum that complements this channel. The address will be somewhere on this video to tell you the address for the forum. It is purely for people that are also interested in this car. Just like all the other forums, you can chat about the videos, share ideas, and believe me, there's a lot of people out there that have still got these cars and love these cars and are passionate about these cars in the same way I am. So as with all of these videos, I'm not a professional. This is just a hobby. This is my way of doing things. I think it's a nice way of doing it. I hope it's helped you out, and I hope you'll watch any of the future videos and keep your car looking special long into the future. Thanks for watching now, and I'll see you again on another video.